A reading from the book of Judges, chapter 3. So then, the Lord left some nations in the land to test the Israelites who had not been through the wars in Canaan. He did this only in order to teach each generation of Israelites about war, especially those who had never been in battle before. Those left in the land were the 5 Philistine cities, all the Canaanites, the Sidonians, and the Hivites who lived in the Lebanon mountains from Mount Baal Hermon as far as Hamath Pass. They were to be a test for Israel to find out whether or not the Israelites would obey the commands that the Lord had given their ancestors through Moses. And so the people of Israel settled down among the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. They intermarried with them and worshipped their gods. The people of Israel forgot the Lord their God. They sinned against him and worshipped the idols of Baal and Asherah. So the Lord became angry with Israel and let King Cushan Rishathaim of Mesopotamia conquer them. They were subject to him for 8 years. Then the Israelites cried out to the Lord, and he sent someone to free them. This was Othniel, the son of Caleb's younger brother Kenaz. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he became Israel's leader. Othniel went to war, and the Lord gave him the victory over the king of Mesopotamia. There was peace in the land for 40 years, and then Othniel died. The people of Israel sinned against the Lord again. Because of this, the Lord made King Eglon of Moab stronger than Israel. Eglon joined the Ammonites and the Amalekites. They defeated Israel and captured Jericho, the city of palm trees. The Israelites were subject to Eglon for 18 years. Then the Israelites cried out to the Lord, and he sent someone to free them. This was Ehud, a left-handed man who was the son of Gera from the tribe of Benjamin. The people of Israel sent Ehud to King Eglon of Moab with gifts for him. Ehud had made himself a double-edged sword about 1.5 feet long. He had it fastened on his right side under his clothes. Then he took the gifts to Eglon, who was a very fat man. When Ehud had given him the gifts, he told the men who had carried them to go back home. But Ehud himself turned back at the carved stones near Gilgal, went back to Eglon and said, "Your Majesty, I have a secret message for you." So the king ordered his servants, "Leave us alone." And they all went out. Then, as the king was sitting there alone in his cool room on the roof, Ehud went over to him and said, "I have a message from God for you." The king stood up. With his left hand, Ehud took the sword from his right side and plunged it into the king's belly. The whole sword went in, handle and all, and the fat covered it up. Ehud did not pull it out of the king's belly, and it stuck out behind, between his legs. Then Ehud went outside, closed the doors behind him, locked them, and left. The servants came and saw that the doors were locked, but they only thought that the king was inside relieving himself. They waited as long as they thought they should. But when he still did not open the door, they took the key and opened it, and there was their master lying dead on the floor. Ehud got away while they were waiting. He went past the carved stones and escaped to Seirah. When he arrived there, in the hill country of Ephraim, he blew a trumpet to call the people of Israel to battle. Then he led them down from the hills. He told them, "Follow me. The Lord has given you victory over your enemies, the Moabites." So they followed Ehud down and captured the place where the Moabites were to cross the Jordan. They did not allow anyone to cross. That day, they killed about 10,000 of the best Moabite soldiers. None of them escaped. That day, the Israelites defeated Moab, and there was peace in the land for 80 years. The next leader was Shamgar, son of Anath. He too rescued Israel and did so by killing 600 Philistines with an ox goad. The word of the Lord. A reading from the book of Judges, chapter 4. After Ehud died, the people of Israel sinned against the Lord again. So the Lord let them be conquered by Jabin, a Canaanite king who ruled in the city of Hazor. The commander of his army was Sisera, who lived at Harosheth of the Gentiles. Jabin had 900 iron chariots, and he ruled the people of Israel with cruelty and violence for 20 years. Then the people of Israel cried out to the Lord for help. Now Deborah, the wife of Lapidoth, was a prophet, and she was serving as a judge for the Israelites at that time. She would sit under a certain palm tree between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim, and the people of Israel would go there for her decisions. One day, she sent for Barak, son of Abinoam, from the city of Kadesh in Naphtali, and said to him, "The Lord, the God of Israel, has given you this command. Take 10,000 men from the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun and lead them to Mount Tabor. I will bring Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, to fight you at the Kishon River. He will have his chariots and soldiers, but I will give you victory over him." Then Barak replied, "I will go, if you go with me. But if you don't go with me, I won't go either." She answered, "All right, I will go with you, but you won't get any credit for the victory because the Lord will hand Sisera over to a woman." So Deborah set off for Kadesh with Barak. Barak called the tribes of Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and 10,000 men followed him. Deborah went with him. In the meantime, Heber the Kenite had set up his tent close to Kadesh near the oak tree at Zaananim. He had moved away from the other Kenites, the descendants of Hobab, the brother-in-law of Moses. When Sisera learned that Barak had gone up to Mount Tabor, he called out his 900 iron chariots and all his men and sent them from Harosheth of the Gentiles to the Kishon River. Then Deborah said to Barak, "Go, the Lord is leading you. Today he has given you victory over Sisera." So Barak went down from Mount Tabor with his 10,000 men. When Barak attacked with his army, the Lord threw Sisera into confusion together with all his chariots and men. Sisera got down from his chariot and fled on foot. Barak pursued the chariots and the army to Harosheth of the Gentiles, and Sisera's whole army was killed. Not a man was left. Sisera ran away to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, because King Jabin of Hazor was at peace with Heber's family. Jael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, "Come in, sir. Come into my tent. Don't be afraid." So he went in, and she hid him behind a curtain. He said to her, "Please give me a drink of water. I'm thirsty." She opened a leather bag of milk, gave him a drink, and hid him again. Then he told her, "Stand at the door of the tent, and if anyone comes and asks you if anyone is here, say no." Sisera was so tired that he fell sound asleep. Then Jael took a hammer and a tent peg, quietly went up to him, and killed him by driving the peg right through the side of his head and into the ground. When Barak came looking for Sisera, Jael went out to meet him and said to him, "Come here. I'll show you the man you're looking for." So he went in with her, and there was Sisera on the ground, dead, with the tent peg through his head. That day, God gave the Israelites victory over Jabin, the Canaanite king. They pressed harder and harder against him until they destroyed him. The word of the Lord.